vice president, Trump will finally have the time to do the things that make him happiest. Talk about old movies, playing on his phone, admiring the assets.
I don't want to be mean, liars, cheaters, thugs, perverts, rat-infested, graffiti-infested, frauds, crooks, freaks, creeps, radical left, bad people, lunatics, shithole.
The Lincoln Project isn't just a political action committee. It's the ultimate group of ex-Republican strategists turned Trump's worst nightmare. Think of them as the political equivalent of an ex who knows all your weaknesses and decides to roast you on a national stage. Founded in 2019 by GOP operatives who had seen enough of Trump's antics, they dedicated themselves to one mission: getting under his skin so badly that he'd be unable to resist responding. And let's just say, mission accomplished. These guys don't just criticize Trump, they torment him with the kind of parody ads that stick in your head like a catchy but deeply embarrassing jingle. From exposing his financial failures to mocking his Broadway-level drama, the Lincoln Project has perfected the art of political trolling. And Trump? He always takes the bait.
We feel certain Trump will play his part because he's a good boy. Who's a good boy? Trump's a good boy.
Connect with them and persuade them, many of them, to vote for the Democratic nominee for the first time in their lives.
One of their most legendary hits was Morning in America, a brutal parody of Ronald Reagan's iconic 1984 Morning in America ad. Reagan's version was all sunshine and optimism, showcasing a country thriving under his leadership. But in the Lincoln Project's take, not so much. Instead of booming businesses and a strong nation, it painted a grim, collapsing America under Trump. The visuals, job losses, economic devastation, a staggering COVID death toll, all tied back to Trump's failed leadership. The message was clear. If we have 4 more years of this, will there even be an America left? It hit a nerve, and Trump, never one to let things slide, raged about it on Twitter, proving that, yes, he definitely saw it.
We cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself. We're not going to let the cure be worse than the problem.
Haven't we asked enough of the greatest generation?
Of course, the Lincoln Project wasn't just about Broadway parodies. They also knew how to hit Trump where it really hurt his wallet. Enter Debt, an ad that laid out the cold, hard truth about Trump's financial mismanagement of the country. Narrated by Hollywood director John Turteltaub, it walked through how Trump had ballooned the national debt, running up trillions while promising the exact opposite. And just to twist the knife, it compared him to past Republican presidents who had actually cared about balancing the budget. For a guy who prides himself on being a successful businessman, Trump had absolutely no defense for this one. And if there's one thing Trump hates, it's being called out for being bad with money.
Now we know Vladimir Putin pays a bounty for the murder of American soldiers. Donald Trump knows too, and does nothing.
But the Lincoln Project wasn't just focused on economic blunders. No, they were also going straight for the jugular when it came to national security. One of their hardest-hitting ads was Bounty, which focused on reports that Russia had offered bounties on American soldiers in Afghanistan, and Trump, rather than doing anything about it, said nothing. The ad was brutal. It called out Trump's cowardice, his refusal to stand up to Putin, and how he failed the very troops he claimed to support. If there was any ad designed to make Republican voters deeply uncomfortable, this was it. It was devastating. And Trump? Well, he did what he always does when cornered. He lashed out without ever actually addressing the allegations.
Нет, самое важное одобрение Дональд Трамп получил в 2016 году от нашего великого вождя Владимира.
But perhaps the most visually creative ad in their arsenal was Fellow Traveler, which took things to full Soviet propaganda mode. Picture this: eerie Cold War-era music, grainy footage, and Russian narration introducing Comrade Trump. The entire ad mocked his alarming coziness with Vladimir Putin, from that infamous Helsinki press conference where Trump publicly sided with Russia over US intelligence, to his desperate attempts to deny any wrongdoing. The whole thing was styled like a KGB recruitment video, making it impossible not to see just how much Trump had bent over backwards to avoid confronting Russia. It was brilliantly executed and, let's be real, hilariously on point.
Donald Trump is playing pretend again, saying he's the one to take on China. They can't wait. They know who Donald Trump is. Weak, corrupt, ridiculed. China beats him every time.
Then there was China, an ad that tapped into one of Trump's favorite talking points, his obsession with China. The Lincoln Project used his own words against him, splicing together countless clips of him saying China in increasingly ridiculous ways. But instead of just making fun of his pronunciation, which, let's be honest, was already meme-worthy, the ad exposed his hypocrisy, pointing out how Trump had cozied up to Chinese leadership while pretending to be tough on them. It wasn't just a roast, it was a political fact-check disguised as comedy. And Trump? He hated it. Of course, the Lincoln Project also knew that Trump had a complicated relationship with history, especially when it came to Confederate symbols and white supremacy. That's where flag of treason came in. This ad put a spotlight on the Confederate flags proudly waved at Trump rallies and forced people to confront the ugly reality of what was happening within his base. It directly called him out for refusing to condemn white supremacist groups and instead encouraging their behavior. It was blunt, powerful, and deeply uncomfortable, which is exactly why it worked.
You couldn't answer many of the questions. I'd get you the test. I'd like to give it. But I guarantee you that Joe Biden could not answer those questions.
Okay. Don't you believe America deserves a president who doesn't brag he can spot an elephant?
And just when you thought they were done, the Lincoln Project hit us with Trumpfeld, an ad that turned Trump's rambling nonsense into a sitcom. Using Seinfeld-style theme music and a laugh track, it cut together his most ridiculous interview moments, turning his bizarre, disjointed rants into comedic gold. It was the perfect blend of absurd and genius, showing how unhinged he sounded when you stripped away the usual political context.
Behold the rare small-pawed Trump, Impetus americanus. Notable for its exotic plumage, the Trump is typically a ruddy orange color, not found in nature.
Lastly, because why not go all in, the Lincoln Project dropped Nationalist Geographic, an ad styled like a wildlife documentary, narrating Trump's behavior as if he were a rare, unstable animal in the wild. Calling him Impetus americanus, the ad poked fun at his obsession with power, his desperate need for attention, and his natural habitat. It was so over the top that it was impossible not to laugh, but also impossible to ignore the very real message beneath the humor.
I remain never Trump. I am not a progressive. I am not a left-winger. I'm not even a Democrat. I believe deeply in this country.
At the end of the day, what makes the Lincoln Project's ads so effective isn't just their brutality, it's their precision. Every single one of these ads was strategically placed to make sure Trump saw them, reacted to them, and kept the story alive. They didn't just expose his flaws, they made sure he couldn't stop talking about them. And if there's one thing we know about Trump, it's that his biggest weakness is his inability to let things go. So while these ads were designed for the public, their real target was always the same: Trump's fragile ego. And folks, it worked every single time.
The Donald Trump for President campaign hit a bunch of people this afternoon with cease and desist letters because our ads were too mean for little Don.
The Lincoln Project, a political action committee formed by disenchanted Republican strategists, has become a masterclass in psychological warfare against former President Donald Trump. Their strategy is as audacious as it is effective. Craft incendiary ads that not only critique Trump's policies, but are meticulously designed to provoke him personally. The goal? To elicit public outbursts that keep negative attention squarely on him, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of reaction and exposure.
Terrible on camera these days. You just look old, tired, and fucking crazy.
The Lincoln Project's tactics often involved placing ads in strategic locations to ensure Trump would see them. They purchased airtime on Fox News in the Washington, D.C. market, knowing it was a channel and location Trump frequented. This approach was evident with their futile ad, which criticized Trump's leadership and was broadcast in areas Trump was known to visit.
309 days ago, I believe it was the first time you threatened to sue us. You never did. Then you threatened to sue us about a year and a half ago. You never did. Listen here, this country, for all of you Republicans bleating about free speech, free speech rights, let me tell you something, Donald. We will never stop making ads about you.
The Lincoln Project released an ad that aired on a local Florida TV station, criticizing Trump's influence over the Republican Party. Trump's response was swift and severe. He threatened legal action against both the Lincoln Project and Fox News, mistakenly believing the ad had aired on the national network. He took to his social media platform, Truth Social, to denounce the perverts and lowlifes of the Lincoln Project and expressed his intent to see them in court.
I'll probably cut an ad about you when you're dead. The Lincoln Project stands absolutely unified in the clear and sharp message to you. We will never have ever stop.
The Lincoln Project's co-founder, George Conway, has been vocal about their strategy to unnerve Trump. In discussions, Conway explained that their ads are crafted to exploit Trump's psychological vulnerabilities, particularly his narcissism and aversion to criticism. By revealing these aspects, they aim to provoke reactions that reveal his insecurities. Conway recounted instances where Trump, instead of focusing on policy or campaign messages, diverted attention to address the Lincoln Project's provocations, thereby amplifying their impact.
The perverts and misfits of the Lincoln Project have barely gotten together again after their disgusting scandal and pieced together some ads. They are running on fumes. Were they ever prosecuted for their crimes? Are their donors under investigation? Check it out.
The effectiveness of the Lincoln Project's approach is evident not only in Trump's reactions, but also in the financial support they garnered. Following Trump's public outbursts against their ads, the organization reported significant increases in donations, indicating that their strategy resonated with a substantial audience. This influx of funds enabled them to produce more content, perpetuating the cycle of provocation and reaction. So, what have we learned? The Lincoln Project isn't just making ads, they're living rent-free in Trump's head. Every time he reacts, they win. Whether it's raging on Truth Social, threatening lawsuits, or publicly fuming, Trump keeps the cycle going, ensuring their message spreads even further. And the best part, every meltdown boosts their donations, funding even more ads that drive him nuts. It's the most toxic political breakup ever, and honestly, we're here for it. The only question is, how long until Trump takes the bait again?